What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Geordie, and welcome back to some more F1 25 driver career mode for the Qatar Grand Prix. But if you missed last episode, well, you already got a sneak preview. We won the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and not only that, we also won our very first Formula One Drivers' Championship with 2 races, or 3 if you count the Qatar sprint, left to spare. I think Qatar has a sprint, doesn't it? Let's have a look. Oh, it doesn't. Apparently it does not, according to this anyway. So, yeah. Okay, we don't have a sprint, so it's just going to be Qatar, right? Why do I remember there being a sprint? I'm so confused. But either way, we've still got more things to play for other than the Drivers' Championship, of course. As you can tell, we are just 5 points away from Scuderia Ferrari in the Constructors' standings after Charles Leclerc's dramatic DNF from the lead in the Vegas Grand Prix. We were very close to losing the race to Verstappen as well, a last gasp towards the end of that Grand Prix. So, yeah, it's all to play for with 2 races left to go, and of course Qatar was one of the more challenging races in the game last season. So it's one of those races, just like Monaco, where I've kept it in for a second season just for the point of experimentation. So first of all, we're going to go into R&D before we go into any sort of upgrades, of course. We could get one of these, but a lot of them aren't going to arrive until after this season has already concluded. So I don't want to do anything in terms of the aerodynamics. We've already got 2 things coming in terms of the chassis, including roll dampers, which actually failed last episode, so they will automatically be arriving, which will be a nice little boost ahead of the 3 teams above us in terms of chassis. We really need to start making some headway towards those top 3 teams, otherwise we're going to be in some trouble next season. A supplier upgrade has arrived for the powertrain, so that's really, really good. That's already maxed out. We don't have to worry about that at all. So honestly, the only upgrade we can really go for is the wing mirrors. So we're going to try and rush it in the hopes that we can get it in before Abu Dhabi, but if not, it's whatever. It will arrive on the car ready for next season. So yeah, there's nothing really left to say. Without further ado, it's time to just get into the next weekend. The roll dampers have arrived, and it's time to get down to Qatar. That's it. This is obviously one of my favorite tracks if you've been watching for a while. Unfortunately, though, it isn't very fun in this year's game compared to the other tracks, down to the AI acceleration, which was why I kept it on the calendar to do some experimentation with the difficulty. Of course, we are going to lower it, but I think I already did some experimentation last season. Oh, there is a sprint weekend. Why wasn't it showing it? I mean, why am I surprised? The sprint results screen is still broken. They added this whole thing, like being able to show like the sprint results, but it doesn't do anything, you know? In fact, it actually just shows, yeah, I mean, it just shows the same either way. So it doesn't even show that season's results. In fact, it just reverts back to the seat. It's just completely like, why add the feature if it never worked in the first place? I don't get it. I really don't understand it. But yeah, turns out it is a sprint weekend, so we'll only have 1 practice session before we get into sprint qualifying. 10 laps of the sprint, and then we got 29 laps of the race. That's enough said, though. Without further ado, it's time to get into sprint qualifying for the Qatar Grand Prix.
It's all about flow and pace today, qualifying in Qatar. A high-speed test that will set the grid for tomorrow's race. So welcome along.
Well, here we are at Qatar for one of the more challenging circuits on the Formula One calendar. Of course, it is one of the hottest, if not the hottest circuit on the calendar. Of course, at least it was in 2023, that is for sure. But also in the game. It has always been one of the more nightmarish circuits, especially since F1 24, and this game is not much better for it. Last season we were only able to muster up a P12 in the full race, even though we did score points in the sprint. Barely. It was not the best weekend. In fact, it was probably the worst weekend we had throughout the entirety of that season. So yeah, looking to improve this time round in the Aston Martin this time, of course, fighting for the championship. In fact, we've already won the championship as of last episode. So we're still fighting for the constructors. We know this is a title winning car, so surely we're going to do a lot better around this circuit this time. And yeah, so far so good. It's not horrible. We set a pretty decent first lap, it seemed, but of course that's only worth about P17 right now. Towards the end of sprint qualifying, that was with the mediums, which I decided not to show in this because yeah, we know it's not going to be a competitive lap time. It's just something to get it on the board. We only get access to one set of soft tyres for the sprint qualifying, at least short sprint qualifying anyway. So yeah, it's all we can do. Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap. Hopefully we can get somewhat near him. We're 5/10 up on our medium tyres, 6/10 up. We don't know what that is representative of compared to the rest of the field, so it is only a P8. So we're in the points for the sprint at the very least, but we are nowhere near the likes of Max Verstappen. However, we have outqualified Charles Leclerc, who seems to have been the best Ferrari driver as of late, so that's a good thing at the very least. But, you know, when it comes to catching up to Ferrari, we've still got some work to do.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. So we're back here in Losail, and this is the track map. 3.34 miles, 16 turns, and just one DRS zone out of turn 16. It's already a fast and flowing track after all. There's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS though, through the long straight and into turn 1. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. So we come to Qatar this weekend, and what's the word I'm looking for when I think about the middle part of this track? Relentless.
The whole track's relentless. It's predominantly built to be a motorbike circuit. For an F1 car, that means a lot of G-force. It's hot here, it's humid this time of the year that we come to in Formula One, and this puts pressure on the drivers. It also puts pressure on the car and the demands of the tyres. So it's a brutal circuit.
Warming up here at the formation lap, P8 is where we're beginning. Alex Albon in the Williams, George Russell in the medium right in front of us, but we've got our eyes set on our rear view mirrors. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, fresh off of a really tough result, losing from the lead. Engine failure from the lead in Vegas. He'll be looking to come back with a vengeance. It's not a very strong start qualifying in P9, but he'll be looking to get past me in particular as we get this race underway. Waiting for the lights to go out. And away we go. It's a pretty decent start for us. A bad start from the Mercedes as we look to get alongside Alex Albon. Russell is going to prioritise blocking the Mercedes as we go down the inside. And watch as Antonelli does battle with the Red Bull of Franco Colapinto. We're struggling to find some space to get round as Lando Norris takes the lead of the race. Russell coming back at us for P6 here as Colapinto comes out on top against Antonelli. We're looking to dive down the inside. Of course, we're really going to want to make use of these soft tyres while we can. There is only 10 laps after all. But it is P5 from P8, so a really, really good start for us. And the two cars ahead of us are cars that we know we can overtake, especially this Red Bull right out in front of us. But Carlos Sainz in the Williams, a very similar car to ours, of course, and that's how I know we can definitely catch up and overtake him. Norris starting to form a little bit of a gap versus Verstappen already. I wonder if Verstappen is on a slower compound of tyres, because that is quite the gap between the two already as we follow in this little bit of a train, of course, as we're getting closer and closer to Colapinto. There will be no DRS until the second lap. A whiff of dirty air sends us outside a little bit, but we're going to dive down the inside of Franco Colapinto right there and gain P4, and we only have about 50% of our ERS left to spare as we go down this main straight. Carlos Sainz looking to make the move past Verstappen. Down the inside he goes, and he makes the move as Colapinto looks to come back at us, but we defend that quite well. Sainz P2 in the Williams, Verstappen looking slow. That is a dream start for us, of course. So yeah, constructors battle really heating up right now with 3 races to go, including this one. So yeah, we're really going to want to get as much points against Ferrari as we can get, but we've got to keep an eye on McLaren as well as we dive down the inside of Max Verstappen, taking P3. That is going to be a big move, a dramatic move for the championship. It is only worth 1 point though, but you know, every point helps. We could end up winning or losing the Constructors' Championship by 1 point. So again, like I said, we want all the points we could possibly get as we now look to make a move on the Williams of Carlos Sainz, dummying to the right, going to the left, nearly losing control of the car as we take it round the outside, side by side now with the Williams. Down the inside we go, and yeah, that is P2 gain for us. Unfortunately though, these soft tyres seem to be going off, and Norris is nearly 3 seconds ahead, so this will be the peak of our powers for now as we skip ahead on over to lap 4 now towards the end of lap 3, sorry, into lap 4. Verstappen making a move on Carlos Sainz, looking on the mini-map there. Yeah, that is going to be dangerous. Those mediums now really coming into fruition. We're going to be in quite a bit of trouble. To be fair to us, we are able to keep the position though up until lap 7, but now Verstappen has fully caught up to us. We can't break the toe. I really did try, but Verstappen is going to slingshot right past us. I tried to get behind him to get a little bit of slipstream, but Verstappen's got way too much momentum coming out of that last corner onto the main straight. And as we go through the corners, Verstappen is going to get further and further out ahead on those mediums, and things go from bad to worse for us as these tyres are literally ripping to shreds, particularly the front left tyre. So luckily we're on the final lap, but this is well past puncture territory. I've had punctures much less percentage than this. I'm pretty sure Austria season 1, Austria reverse season 1, or was it, I don't know, I think it was the main one. Yeah, it was season 1, so it was the main race. We literally had our tyres burst at 78% round the final corner, and that could still happen here. It could be a lot more disastrous as we tentatively take this car through each corner on this last lap. Just about hitting 89% on the tyre wear, crossing the line in a really strong P3. Ferrari unfortunately do outscore us, but they only gain 1 point over us. Leclerc did not finish, except he did actually, no. So Ferrari gain about 3 points over us and now extend their lead to about 8 points, but again, it is only a handful of points since it is a sprint. The more important thing will be the full race. So that makes this next qualifying session all the more important as we head down onto the track once more. A P8 will not cut it. We know we have the race pace. We just need to try and convert that pace into a good qualifying lap. One good lap is all we need, and that might set us up for the full race in general. And so far so good on this first lap. With 8 minutes to go of the session, we've got a purple first sector as we go towards the end of the lap, a purple second sector, so we are looking very, very quick. I am pushing this to the absolute limit, trying to spend as much ERS as possible while leaving enough for the final straight, because that's where it is still pretty important. And we only have 25% to go, not much usage left as I'm on hot lap now. We put it on overtake for the last little stretch, and that is P2, just behind Lando Norris. So even by the end of that, it's still good enough for P4, but that is not good enough for us because it is Charles Leclerc on pole position, and we are only just ahead of our original lap time. Coming round the final corner now, that is a cracking exit, and that is actually going to push us over a 10th. Will that 10th be enough to get us a good position? It is unfortunately P2, but it is the exact same time as Charles Leclerc. So it's extremely close this weekend. Norris really not far behind us neither. This is going to be an interesting one.
Welcome back to Qatar and the Lusail International Circuit. There's a long history of two-wheeled motorsport action here, but in 2021, Lewis Hamilton won out as part of an epic battle that year with Max Verstappen. But who will win out tonight? We're back here in Lusail for a track that's 3.34 miles long. There are 16 turns around its unique three-prong shape and just a single DRS zone out of turn 16. It's fast and it's flowing, and there's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the long straight and into turn 1. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. The rookie lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Piastri, Max Verstappen and Albon, Gasly, Tsunoda, Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc, Antonelli, Hadjar, Gabriel Bortoleto and Hülkenberg, Doohan, Ocon, Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll, Colapinto and Ollie Behrman rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me today, a man who I'm always pleased to see join me in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. And let's talk momentum with this driver. What a sprint it was. They start at 0 once again for today, but with a huge amount of confidence, surely. Now, we had great fun watching them win last time out. What a great victory it was. But can they carry that into today's race?
It's the important one, isn't it, Crofty? You've done it once, can you do it again? But, you know, if you start believing in yourself and the confidence starts to build, that inner confidence is what you need. And you can carry that through to future races, including this one, and you set that ball rolling. That's the critical thing that they're looking for here. And I believe if you've got that first race win or a win at any stage, it can start to roll with you in a good way.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Huge news in the penultimate Grand Prix as the Constructors' Championship hangs in the balance. Charles Leclerc for Ferrari taking an engine penalty even after going out of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. He's got to take even more pain. He will be starting all the way down in P10, and the closest Ferrari teammate is down in P5. There's a whole 3 cars separating myself and the nearest Ferrari. So this is great news for us as we wait for 5 red lights to go out, and away we go, leading the field from Lando Norris to George Russell to Max Verstappen, who has gotten past Oscar Piastri. Verstappen, so much room round the outside as he looks to go around Lando Norris. This is an absolute nightmare scenario for Aston Martin as Max Verstappen is a man on the mission as he overtakes Lando Norris. Max Verstappen on the soft tyres, no less, is in P2, and this Constructors' Championship is not over yet. Very, very far from it. Of course, McLaren, a really good start for them, qualifying wise anyway. They need all the points they can get. Mathematically, they are still in this fight as we look to our teammate Fernando Alonso losing the position to Charles Leclerc now. This is absolutely woeful. Alonso, please, man. No, somehow, some way, Leclerc manages to outgrip the soft tyres of Alonso. So Alonso must be dealing with some kind of engine wear. There's no way he should be letting Leclerc pass that easily, but it's not the greatest of starts. Of course, we are still leading the Grand Prix, but Ferrari still lead the Constructors' Championship, so a win might not be enough. In fact, it won't be. It won't be enough points. We won't be gaining 8 points on them as it stands. And Leclerc in P9 with a bunch of cars ahead of him that we know are not quicker than the Ferraris. It's not looking good, but yeah, we've still got a lot of control yet in this race as Max Verstappen gets closer and closer towards us. That's without DRS, by the way. That is just sheer power from the Ferrari, and we're just trying everything we can to break the toe. Lando Norris not that far behind. Max Verstappen's going to be coming under some pressure as we head down into turn 1. Max Verstappen's going to try and dive down the inside. Oh my god, it has lost it! Max Verstappen crashes into us. There's contact and he smashes completely into the wall. Max Verstappen all the way down the order in P16 now. How on earth did that happen? It looks as though he got hit with a whiff of dirty air from our car and just completely lost it, made contact with us, and that is huge. That is going to have gigantic repercussions for the championship. Oh my god, all the way down to P16. Colapinto overtook him over yellow flags, but either way, that is Verstappen seemingly out of the Qatar Grand Prix as we have a 1.7 second lead. Now, this might be good for us versus Ferrari, but this also means McLaren will gain even more points. That is a hefty amount of points that they are gaining in P2 and P3, respectively. So we really need to see if Alonso can start picking up more points. We don't know where he is on the grid as of right now. You might know on the leaderboard, but I wasn't looking as I'm commentating. But I know he's quite far away. I don't even think he is in the points. So it's not looking good for us in terms of wanting a healthy lead going into the final Grand Prix of the season. As we now skip ahead to lap 5, not much has changed whatsoever, though there is yellow flags behind. Who is that going to be? It looks as though, look at George Russell actually losing time on the field. Yeah, that was George Russell maybe spinning out. I don't know, but that's a safety car that's just been caused, and a big pile up, a big DRS train. Well, not DRS train, just a big train in general. If you look at the mini map, I have no idea what happened there, but there must have been some sort of blockage. My engineer gets onto the radio talking about pitting this lap for another set of mediums. I don't know what the other teams will be doing, but I'm going to go for it. You know, there's going to be a lot more tyre wear. I feel very confident about overtaking round here. So, yeah, and that is George Russell, engine failure, out of the Grand Prix, and that's what caused the safety car. I don't know why he was staying on the racing line, but yeah, in doing that, he blocked a whole bunch of cars. Our teammate Fernando Alonso is in P9, Leclerc P7, so we can still gain some points, I suppose, but we're coming in now. No other team is coming in, so it's literally just us. So we've got a lot of work to do when we come out of safety car conditions, but this is essentially a free pit stop for us. So onto another set of mediums. We still need to go on to the hards later on as we look now. We're going to double stack. You know, I kind of support this decision, especially since Alonso is on the soft tyres. Let's see if he can gain from this, as he is now onto the mediums. He'll be looking for a final pit stop later on. We'll see how long he goes on those mediums to see whether he goes back onto another set of softs or the hards. I don't think we have another set of softs after the sprint, but who knows, we'll see as we now get back underway in P17. So we do have some work to do. It seems as though everybody else will be going for a one stop after the sprint. I don't want to take that opportunity, and we're going to dive down the inside of Ollie Behrman. He's not going to make that too difficult for us at all. We are a lot quicker of a car, and the tyres are a lot quicker as well, as we now dive down the inside of Jack Doohan. That's another place gain up into P15 right now, as we look to now set our sights on the V-carb of Lance Stroll, and a bunch of cars ahead of him, including himself actually, all on soft tyres, so they're going to be extremely worn at this point if the sprint race was anything to go by. We're getting a little bit of dirty air as we go round there, but diving down the inside once more, you're going to see a lot of those over the next few laps. That is P14 for us now, gaining a position on the man we swapped seats with. in the V-carb. So next up is Franco Colapinto, who was looking pretty quick, in fact the quickest on the circuit with that fastest lap. So let's see what he can do near the end of the race. He seems to get into an altercation with Bortoleto and Ocon, and now we're battling side by side with Colapinto. What a battle this is with the young Red Bull. But there is another place gain for us. That is P13, as we now set our sights on the Haas of Esteban Ocon, who has had quite the strong career mode, to be quite honest. We always see Ocon have some strong results. He seems to have gone back to normal in this sprint race, and a pretty easy move for us as we now get right up the back of the kick Sauber of Bortoleto. I thought he was going to give us a little bit more space down the inside, not that we were entitled to it, but I had to go off circuit a little bit, and I'm struggling a little bit here with Bortoleto. He's driving a little bit unorthodox compared to all the other cars that I've been facing, but Bortoleto isn't going to fight us too hard. In fact, he lets us round the outside a little bit. He doesn't want to make this too difficult. I, however, turn in a little bit early there, and that causes him to slow down. That gives us a bit of a buffer of 7/10. I feel a little bit bad about doing that, but that is P11 gained still. Bortoleto seems to have been backing up the cars behind him regardless, as we now set our sights once more on the Williams of Carlos Sainz, who is on the soft tyres, looking extremely worn at this point, again, if the sprint race was anything to go by. So getting the overtake done on him should not be too difficult. There's a gaggle of cars up ahead, pretty much in a train, no overtakes whatsoever. Leclerc is leading them. In fact, it's actually the Alpine of Pierre Gasly leading them. Leclerc he's got a healthy gap up ahead of Gasly, but he's having a bit of a lonely race. He doesn't seem to be anywhere near the leaders as we dive down the inside of Sainz and Hadjar. A little bit of an unfair one there, really audacious, but the only reason I'm not giving that position back to Hadjar is because they are so slow compared to me. They're not even in the same race as me at this point. That you might think of that as an excuse, but yeah, they're not in the same race as me. I'm not going to bother fighting with them too much. I really don't want to do that. So we're going to keep that move. We're going to make it stick as we now chase down the kick Sauber of Nico Hulkenberg. We are so much faster than all of these cars because of that free pit stop. But yeah, we are really banking on the fact that we can just catch up to the cars ahead. Particularly the McLarens, as we now dive down the inside once more. Nico Hulkenberg is now in our rear view. We are up into P8 with Kimi Antonelli and Pierre Gasly up in front, and just down the road is Charles Leclerc, the man that we definitely want to overtake. And yeah, Max Verstappen, we don't have to worry too much about him. He is really far behind us in last place, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I'm not really worried about him at all. But so far, so good. We're in a really healthy position. I'm going to get some free R&D points or whatever, recognition points, because the objective was to stay ahead of Colapinto for some reason. I don't know, man. But we're going to dive down the inside of the Mercedes here. A little bit more of a cleaner move, not really hurting Kimi's racing line too much, but either way, that is P7 now gained for us, and now we look to get past the annoying Alpine of Pierre Gasly. Him and Ocon in the Haas have definitely been quite annoying this season. Gasly having a late flurry of great results, so I definitely want to get past him as quickly as possible. Really don't want to have too much trouble with him. Alex Albon up ahead in the Williams, still doing really well. Leclerc up into P5. I definitely want to make an aggressive move past the Ferrari here, so I'm going to cut off his racing line just a little bit. Not that we needed to. We braked so late that we were already well in front of the car, and we had so much grip that we practically lost no time making that move, as we now look to make the pass on Alex Albon, diving down the outside as Leclerc was looking to get down our outside. We didn't leave him that much of an opportunity. It was either then or never. I think that would have been a very tricky situation if we'd have tried to go down the inside of Alex Albon. Very weird situation there, but it does result in a really good overtake, and that is a P3, eventually a P2, as Lando Norris has pitted a bit early on the hards. I think about a lap early, as we are getting closer and closer towards the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. But either way, McLaren really working together in a great way. They will be gaining a huge amount of points as we leave this Grand Prix. That is if Oscar Piastri doesn't do the typical thing that this game's coding has been making him do, and have an engine failure before the end of the race, which would be a huge knock to McLaren's points haul by the end of the race, and would honestly be really good news for us. So for once, I'm kind of rooting on Oscar's downfall here, as we now have a pretty good pit stop onto the hards. This is the final pit stop of the race. Our top two right now is Alonso and Verstappen. I have no idea what Alonso's strategy is, but I know Verstappen's going long because of that crash at the beginning of the race. Meanwhile, Piastri on these cold, hard tyres, struggling round turn one. We might have an opportunity to go around the outside here, and there's contact as Piastri turns into us. I have no idea what happened there, and I'm getting the warning for that, and I'm seeing red at this point. I'm going to dive down the inside of Piastri right there and slow down the car to a point that we are roughing up Piastri's racing line there, and he makes a little bit of contact with Carlos Sainz. So sorry about that, Carlos, but yeah, I was really angry at that. This game has some rare moments where the AI will literally just turn into you. It's so strange, but that was fully Piastri's fault, struggling with grip on turn one. And then, yeah, I have no idea what got into him there. I don't know how I got the FIA warning for that. But focusing on our teammate now, Fernando Alonso, going for probably the longest stint of anyone out on the circuit. Even Verstappen is pitting before Alonso, which is a good thing, by the way. That means that he will have a tyre advantage against Verstappen should they get into a battle late on in this race, but that won't matter if Verstappen has completely undercut Alonso here. So let's just find out. You know, we are meanwhile only about a second behind Lando Norris, so it shouldn't be long now before we get into a pretty good situation, especially with DRS involved, looking to make the lead or take the lead of the race, as Alonso comes out just ahead, no, behind of the Haas, Esteban Ocon, and Verstappen only has a car between him and Alonso. So that's going to be very, very interesting as we go towards the end of the race, as we finally get DRS on Lando Norris. There's not a lot of ERS to go, but we're going to see if we can dive down the inside now and just about get the car slowed down enough to make it round the corner. I'm trying to give Lando as much space as possible, maybe more than he deserves, as we go off circuit while trying to make the move stick, but that is P1 gain for us. Lando Norris will do his best in keeping up with us, but we seem to have a lot more grip in our tyres, and we are setting a lot better laps over the course of this Grand Prix, and already now getting a few tenths ahead of Lando Norris as we progress through this lap. So it looks as though we might be on for a big win here, definitely one that we sorely need in the Constructors, and with McLaren now lurking, they will be gaining a huge amount of points. We're looking at a very contentious final Grand Prix, but before we get to that, we have to focus on the onboard of Fernando Alonso. Verstappen right behind him. Alonso needs to make this move on Ocon right now, going around the outside, and he is able to make the move. Ocon still in the rear view mirror though, as he dives down the inside of Alonso, desperately trying to keep P11 right there, but he just doesn't have the grip to stick with it, and Alonso puts a car between him and Max, but that's not going to be for very long. Ocon ends up DNFing. I don't remember that. Definitely didn't cause a safety car like Russell's did earlier, so he must have got off track really well. Alonso making the pass on Colapinto, inadvertently giving some slipstream to Verstappen, but it's not enough. Colapinto is between Alonso and Verstappen now. Fernando can focus on Nico Hülkenberg, which is a much, much easier pass. Hülkenberg doesn't have any DRS at all, and that is Fernando Alonso gaining 2 points. Every little helps. As long as Alonso is scoring points, I'm happy with the contributions he has, even though we know he's capable of beating the likes of the Mercedes and the Williams as well, but it must come down to engine wear. I have no idea. Of course, Alonso's already had to use multiple parts this season due to the engine failures he's had, but yeah, that's all she wrote as we come round the final corner, celebrating another win as we take the win in a pretty challenging Qatar Grand Prix, fully deserved, but with both McLarens landing on the podium. That's going to make the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix all the more important as we are looking at a three-way championship fight in the final race of the season.
And they take the checkered flag for the Qatar Grand Prix. It's a night they'll never forget here in the Sale.
And it's always good, Crofty, to get that momentum on your side, and it's really good for your confidence as well. The more confident you are, the further that can take you.
I can see them on their way out to the podium now. Aston Martin are really making waves in this sport, and what a special race this was to see them earn that top spot.
Huge race win for us, but we can't be celebrating too much. We already celebrated enough in Vegas when we clinched the Drivers' Championship, but the Constructors' Championship is still very much up in the air, especially with the huge result that McLaren got here tonight. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri on the podium. There's a very good chance that McLaren might even be leading the Constructors' Championship after this result, and race wins by ourselves might not be enough if Fernando is not scoring the healthiest amount of points. But Leclerc leaves that Grand Prix weekend with 14 points. Verstappen leaves it with 8. A good points haul for Ferrari, but a very good points haul for us. Ferrari actually not a good points haul for them at all. They fall from P1 down to P3. McLaren only 1 point behind us. Ferrari 6 points behind. So it is a three-way championship fight going into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That is going to be one of the best season finales I have ever done in a Formula One series, and I am really looking forward to it. So guys, thank you all so much for tuning in and watching this episode of F125 Career Mode. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button as high as you possibly can, comment, share and subscribe. I'll see you all next time for some more F125. Peace.